Welcome to this podcast for Brighton School of Business and Management students studying for the HND Level 5 courses. Section 1, Bullet Point 1. Here you need to give an overview of the taxation environment, which includes the purpose and types of taxation, such as income tax, corporation tax, etc., and the different methods of collection and the relevant legislation. For bullet point 2, you need to focus on the role of the practitioner, discuss how this individual or organisation would deal with the inland revenue, how they would advise clients, calculate liabilities, respect confidentiality, and so on. On the last bullet point, just as asked, you need to explain what taxpayers must abide by and what the penalties are if tax due is not paid. Section 2. Focusing on individuals and individual partners, you need to discuss potential sources of income, expenses and allowances, and how to classify those and determine what is taxable. On bullet point 2, you will need to use examples of both an employed individual and a self-employed individual, showing income, expenses and allowances, and show how tax payable is calculated on those figures and on what dates that tax would be due to be paid. Many examples can be found by searching on Google using phrases such as individual plus tax payable plus calculation plus example, and by examining the information and calculators on websites such as www.hmrc.gov.uk. For bullet point 3, relevant documentation in the UK would include tax returns, hard copy or online, P60, P45, P11D, etc. You need to explain how these should be completed, and the best way to do this is by actually completing and submitting them. Section 3, bullet point 1, focusing on companies. This is about bases of assessment, scope of corporation tax, accounting periods, and ultimately chargeable profits. You will need to describe how these are dealt with. Following on from the above, you need to describe how tax due is calculated and when payment would be due. Again, an example would be the best way of dealing with this. For bullet point 3, a brief answer only is needed here. You need to explain the processes of deducting tax due and the paying of that tax to the inland revenue. Section 4, bullet point 1 is about identifying capital gains tax liability, chargeable persons, relevant assets and disposals, and relevant payment due dates. The last two bullet points can be combined and are best dealt with by giving a specific example. You need to consider the layout of the calculation, identifying allowable expenditure, any taper relief due, how to deal with losses, allowances and assets and disposals to determine gains or losses made, and if tax is due, how that tax payable is calculated. For examples of capital gains calculations, search on Google using the phrase capital gains plus calculation plus example, and visit the relevant pages on the HMRC website, which is www.hmrc.gov.uk. Here are some websites that you should find useful when preparing this assignment. And if you need any further guidance or assistance with this assignment, please contact your tutor.